Upbeat, curiosity-driven intro music fades in and then softens to a background hum. Look at this. The blue marble, our home. From the silent vacuum of space, it's a swirl of white clouds, brown continents, and a vast, overwhelming, soul-stirring blue. 71% of our world is covered by oceans, a liquid blanket that cradles life, drives our weather, and hides mysteries deeper than our tallest mountains. We've mapped the surface of Mars more completely than our own seabed. The ocean is so fundamental to our identity that we define our world by it. But what if, in a single, inexplicable moment, it was all gone? Not evaporated, not frozen, but simply vanished. 1 second, you hear the distant crash of waves. The next, a profound, deafening silence falls over the entire planet. The pressure in your ears pops violently. Every ship at sea, from fishing trawlers to supertankers, plunges kilometers to the seabed in a cloud of dust and shattered steel. The planet's blue soul has been ripped away, leaving a silent, gaping wound. Music shifts to a more ominous, investigative tone. The first thing we'd notice, beyond the impossible sight of a dry planet, is the air. Or rather, the lack of it. Global atmospheric pressure would plummet instantly. All that water exerted immense weight, and its vapor was a significant component of our atmosphere. Suddenly, living at sea level would feel like being atop a 3,000-meter or 10,000-foot mountain. For many, this sudden altitude sickness would be debilitating, even lethal. But that's the least of our worries. The true horror is unfolding on the newly exposed abyssal plains. Every single marine creature, from the blue whale to the smallest krill, is now flopping, suffocating, and being crushed by gravity on a seabed that has never known air. It's the single largest, most instantaneous mass extinction event imaginable. Trillions of creatures, representing over 80% of all life on Earth, extinguished in a matter of minutes. The stench of their decay would, in time, become a planetary miasma, a global shroud of death. Simultaneously, our weather system would shatter into pure chaos. The oceans are the world's thermal battery, absorbing and releasing massive amounts of solar energy. Without them, the planet loses its temperature regulation. Coastal regions, no longer moderated by the sea, would experience violent temperature swings. Deserts might flash freeze at night, while equatorial coastlines would bake under a relentless sun, with daily temperature changes exceeding 50 degrees Celsius or over 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The water cycle, the engine of our climate, has just had its heart torn out. No more evaporation means no more clouds, no more rain, no more snow. Every river on the planet is now a finite resource, a ticking clock counting down to the day it runs dry. The life-giving rains that sustain our forests, our crops, and our civilizations have ceased forever. Within a few short months, the world's great rivers, the Amazon, the Nile, the Yangtze, would be reduced to trickles and then to dusty, winding canyons. The age of global drought has begun. As the planet reels from this initial shock, a new, far more terrifying geological reality sets in. For eons, the colossal weight of 326 million cubic miles of water has been pressing down on the Earth's crust. That's over 1.4 quintillion tons of pressure. Suddenly, that weight is gone. The seafloor, freed from this immense burden, begins to rebound upwards in a process called isostatic rebound. This isn't a gentle lift. It's a violent, planet-altering adjustment. The tectonic plates, already grinding against each other, are now thrown into disarray. The result would be earthquakes on a scale we can't even comprehend. Not just a magnitude 9, but a constant, rolling thunder of crustal shifts across the entire globe. Cities that survived the initial atmospheric and climate shocks would be leveled by quakes that never seem to end. But the true spectacle of this new world is the exposure of the planet's hidden anatomy. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a colossal underwater mountain range, is now a continent-spanning spine of exposed, erupting volcanoes, spewing ash and sulfur dioxide into the already thinning atmosphere. The Mariana Trench is no longer a dark abyss, but an 11,000-meter deep canyon, a stark, dry chasm cleaving the new landscape. We could now walk among the ruins of the Titanic or explore undersea vents that once teemed with bizarre life, now silent mineral chimneys. The base of Hawaii's Mauna Kea volcano, previously hidden, would now be exposed, making it, from base to peak, the tallest mountain on our planet by a staggering margin, dwarfing Mount Everest. We would have a new world to explore, a landscape of impossible scale and terrifying beauty, but it would be a dead world. A museum of a planet that once was. The long-term prognosis for Earth is bleak. With the primary source of our planet's oxygen, phytoplankton, gone, the composition of our atmosphere begins to change. Oxygen levels would slowly but inexorably decline over centuries. Meanwhile, the rampant volcanic activity from the exposed mid-ocean ridges would pump greenhouse gases into the air. At the same time, the decay of trillions of tons of marine life would release unfathomable quantities of methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide. Earth is now on a one-way trip to becoming a Venusian hellscape. Temperatures would rise, the atmosphere would thicken with toxic gases, and the remaining surface water in lakes and underground aquifers would boil away. Humanity, if it survived this far, would be a subterranean species. Our only hope would be to build self-sustaining bunkers deep underground, shielded from the violent geology, deadly radiation from a sun no longer filtered by a healthy atmosphere, and the toxic air. We would become custodians of a planetary tomb, telling stories of a world that was once blue, a world of rain, clouds, and life-giving water. Looking up at our sky, we wouldn't see a familiar blue, but a hazy reddish-brown. The moon would seem impossibly bright in a sky without moisture to scatter the light. We would look out at the solar system and see our neighbors, arid Mars and toxic Venus, and realize we no longer live on Earth, but on a hybrid of its two dead siblings. We didn't lose our oceans. We lost the very thing that made our planet Earth. We exist on a razor's edge, a delicate balance of conditions so perfectly tuned for life that removing just one component, even one we take for granted, causes the entire system to unravel into utter ruin. The silence left behind by the vanished oceans would be the ultimate reminder of how fragile our cosmic oasis truly is. We would finally understand that the search for life in the universe was always just a search for another ocean.